So next on for us, we've got a very stunning story, and I'd like to invite my friend and a very respected digital transformation leader, Radovan, to come on stage and talk about all the magic that he's creating at Bayer. Radovan, all yours.
So thank you very much, first of all, Sam and Rohan and Soroko team to invite me today on stage. Just a quick intro about myself. I'm currently working at Bayer, worked in EY in different companies as a digital transformation lead, but always in the area of supply chain management and production and operations. I'm also a teacher or lecturer at the university, where I also try to bring the new, let's say, technologies and the insights and innovation to our next generations. So today, I'm going to share a bit about our story between Bayer and Soroko. And I remember the time when Era basically mentioned that it was a small team, a few people, and that was actually when we also started with Soroko to interact. It was about in 2017, 2018. And our former CIO, she moved the companies from an FMCG organization to Bayer, and she invited Rohan to come over to Basel at our headquarters in Switzerland. And we were a bunch of people there, and then there was Rohan. So we were thinking, okay, what's this teenager gonna sell us? What is this teenager gonna tell us? And then he started to talk about, Scout and the early stages, right? So it's, I would say in the metamorphosis, it was on the very left side when we first met in 2018. But all what Sam has told you, what Rohan has showed you, but also what we just saw from Tech Mahindra, I want to show you a bit the customer side on how we actually basically leveraging technology to deliver value in our organization. So a few words about Bayer. You might have read recently some news about Bayer, that it was going through a difficult time, but never mind. We're not going to talk now about the bad things. Good. So our first pilot, we did that in 2018. Our major question was, how can we unveil the unknowns and how can we identify automation opportunities? At that time, we had our first RPA, and we said, okay, what can we do to do more? So we had a lot of workload problems. We had people asking for more resources. We had outdated systems. We had systems that did not connect. And we had actually tried to do something we call lean management or Lean Six Sigma, identifying and interviewing subject matter experts, interviewing people to understand, hey, how does work happen and what are you doing? And I can confirm that one thing is what is written in the SOP. One thing is how the work is supposed to be done. And another thing is how the people, if you interview them, would say what they are doing. But with Scout, we were able to really identify and highlight how work actually happens in interaction with the systems. So what we've done at that point in time, we were able to find and fix a lot of issues that we had in our processes and our bottlenecks. So here just a bit of numbers to show you. So we were scouting at that time 18 processes, identified 5 processes that we believed are 5 distinct individual processes, but at the end, if you follow the data, you see that they're all connected, from the same input all the way down to the last output that we were seeing. We scouted with 45 users, and we actually identified about 20,000 hours of automation potentials that we've also delivered in the subsequent months and years. At that time, also Soroko had their own automation platform, so we were leveraging actually the end-to-end cycle from discovery, process design, and then also automating that. So with the time then, before Scout, they were requesting more users or more employees, but actually with the insights into automation, we were saying, guys, we can free up roughly 10 to 15 FTEs worth workload. So 20,000 hours, we calculate 1,500 hours as an average of hours per year. So that was basically our, let's say, first pilot we've done in 2018. And since then, it was really a great journey. And I'm going to show you just a few examples in the sake of time, what we at Bayer have done. And literally also, what Sam and what Rohan just mentioned before in their presentations, I can really confirm that, and with Bayer, we're really seeing that value, that it's humanly impossible to get all this information and all the details and all the quantification. This was really not possible through other means. So the Scout pilot was actually our door opener, kind of. So what we've done in 2021, Bayer Crop Science has purchased or acquired Monsanto for 60 billion. And we had a case that we said, okay, we have two different operating models in customer services. One was very central with the front office, back office setup. And the other one was very much close to the country. So in each and every country, you had actually front and back office logic. So we were at the challenge to say, okay, we need to transform. We need to bring that company together. How can we actually use data to understand how work gets done, where work gets done, so that we can best allocate our people, that we are not bringing people in a very high mature automated space, like maybe Northwestern Europe, but maybe invest a bit more in areas which is Central Eastern Europe or Mediterraneans, right? So we had, actually our challenge was we had two legacy companies, completely disconnected, different ERP systems, different systems, but mature within their own, let's say, legacy. What we found, more than 50 processes that we have scouted and identified over 200 repetitive tasks. So you might be surprised in terms of, okay, but Bayer is a big company, you know, customer services, order management, delivery management, that's fairly standard. But we saw with Scout that we had more than 200 tasks, what we call task hotspots or digital gaps, that we see that there is a lot of things happening, but they are not really part of a process, or they are, but they're kind of completely managed differently across the different organizations. And we did that, by the way, in more than 25 locations across Europe, Middle East, and Africa. What we've done then is basically, with Scout Insights, we were able to define how should the operating model look after the transformation. So we had a blueprint, but we said, okay, that's not enough because the blueprint is just PowerPoint and some assumptions, and said, okay, let's take the best out of both worlds. Let's be close to customer, but also have a back office so that we can have much more efficiency and effectiveness in our organization. What we've done, we were able to improve our customer satisfaction by more than 20%. We've harmonized our performance of our applications. I give an example. We've implemented Salesforce as a CRM, but for our internal purposes, so between the front office and the back office teams. And in that, we were able to basically show that after transformation, and still ongoing, right, we still have a bad adoption in how people are adopting to the new technology. So we are still showing and highlighting the opportunities. We are still, recently, just a few weeks ago, we had some new results that we said, okay, how can we better improve our activity split between front office and back office? So with all these insights, we are still continuously working on that. And since more than 30,000 hours have been saved and more than 20 processes have been automated. I give another example, what we've done in the planning space. So row crop planning is a very seasonal process. So you plant corn, it grows, you have a certain amount of product available, and then you need to allocate it and send it across the organization and across the region to customers. So we had high work volume. So we were aware that there might not be a good adoption in the current systems that we have. And we had a lot of pain points, right? Because we had so many variations in Excel. We had so many bad master dates in our systems that we were actually supposed to use. But it was only with Scout that we were able to say, guys, we are spending 1% of all our time in SAP. And you can imagine in a supply chain organization where ERP is the fundamental platform that you're using, it was quite stunning and quite impressive to see that only 1% of the time of our planning organization is within SAP. And more than 90% of that time was in Excel. And one thing that resonates very well with the dark side of the moon is the 6 week of man hours that do nothing else than toggling, right? And toggling meaning switching applications. Absolute waste. So in terms of lean management, if you talk about waste management, this is an absolute waste that we were able to quantify, highlight, but then also as I show you in the fix. What we've done, we've basically streamlined a couple of processes and simplified a few Excel files that we were using. And the deep fix was actually, Scout Insights have helped us to design the new way of how the planner should look like. So going away from I'm copy-pasting data into a planning system into, okay, data is there. If we have a good master data in place, what can I do with this data? How can I basically change also the way how planning is being done in the future by our planning organization? So you see, we have also improved our internal customer satisfaction or employee satisfaction, where we see that the engagement score has been improved by 30%. We have increased productivity across our planning organization, mainly eliminated the toggling of the toggling across applications. And as I mentioned already, we have actively influenced through Scout Insights how the new operating model looks like for planning, including implementation of a new planning tool. And the last case that I'm going to show you today, we are now also in the journey on S4 Hana. We've done one implementation or one pilot implementation in Latin America. But we're currently also in the challenge to say, okay, we have at least 3 ERPs, different modules, different ways of working, different functions, different legacy, different backgrounds. So how can we actually use Scout to better plan for what is really necessary as part of core, like S4, and what are the satellite systems, and how can we actually improve that part? So we've seen that a lot of insights we have already generated in SAP, but we also see that we could map actually all processes across all the apps that we are interacting between SAP and all the satellite systems. We are not there yet, right? We're still in the process of it, but it shows us already that we can highlight, okay, where do we need to be careful if we're going to transform and replace our old ERP systems with the new one. So the outcomes still loading, but we're basically working actively on getting some benefits there as well once we basically close the project. And you know, S4 HANA implementation is something that is taking a few years, not a few weeks. Okay, so what have we learned as a Bayer organization? What is my recommendation to you guys? So what we see that at the beginning we started, let's use Scout to identify automation opportunities, right? With the time we saw that actually it should be something that can help us to achieve our strategic objectives with also the things that you heard from Rohan, right? Cutting costs, improving our customer experience, etc. We also say that we believe that in an ideal world, every employee should have Scout implemented and installed on their laptop, and continuously you would have new insights generated, right? You scout, you improve, you scout, you improve. So basically, using Scout as a continuous improvement tool rather than looking at, okay, I have an issue in this process, let's scout it and let's see what are the recommendations. Another recommendation is, or what we've learned as well, is we were able to use Scout and to bring people AI closer, right? We also struggled with, okay, what is AI? How can we use AI? What does the data do? Where do I start? How does it add value? And this was really helpful for us as well internally to show that, okay, you can have a platform that can help you to understand better what is AI and also how you can embed a better digital culture in trusting data, right? So we had a lot of conversations about, no, I'm a PhD, what I'm doing, this is not something you can automate, or my work is so specific, there is no way that AI can identify opportunities to improve, but we all proved them wrong through data and basically moved away from opinions into facts. You also need to have champions, right? So really building up the capabilities internally, really making sure that people understand, your employees understand how you can actually use the value realization, how you can actually apply Scout. So we are today applying Scout in multiple areas, not only for automation, we're looking at application optimization, we are looking at process standardization, we are looking at training, we are looking at stopping doing things, right? There is a lot of things we're doing that are not adding value at the end of the day. Sharing best practices, one of the things that I love to do, like also sharing my experience today, but also in other conferences and other means of really sharing. I think it's really important to share and to basically demystify, let's say, the myth of AI and basically the capabilities that we have. And certainly using Scout to improve continuously and monitoring the business processes, because there is a lot of waste, there is a lot of opportunities that we may not even be aware of in that sense. So to close down, a quick recap about our journey. We've done Scout in more than 40 countries, more than 500 processes have been mapped, more than 1,000 people scouted, and you see that we have basically a lot of operational excellence levers like automation, standardization, employee experience, etc., that we are actually tackling actively through Scout. And let's say a very bold number, but it's true. If you just took also the number and the scale that we saw, that about 1.4 trillion data sets are only in this room per year with the employees and the companies that we have. I believe Bayer has about 100,000 employees. There is still a lot of value that we did even not yet tap in. And this is one thing that we looking forward in the future to achieve jointly with the great team of Soroko. With that, I hand over back to Sam, and thank you very much. For any questions, we can speak later in the breaks.